you a musician interested in improving your performance? Welcome to Notes on Jazz. I'm your host, Keith Davis. If you want to learn more about jazz improvisation, harmony, and composition, or just want to improve your piano skills, this is the place for you. We'll be hosting interviews with fellow musicians, offering tips and techniques on study and practice, and lots of other cool stuff. Whatever instrument you play, or if you're a vocalist, you will find something helpful and interesting here. So come hang out with us at Notes on Jazz. Yesterday I went to Charlotte, North Carolina, to the Steinway Gallery, where I was invited to speak to the Charlotte Piano Teachers Forum. And the topic that they asked me to talk about was how they, as piano teachers, can begin to teach their students about jazz. Now, their students are more classically trained. These are, regular piano teachers that teach mainly kids, not strictly kids, but mostly younger students. So this is, of course, something that I have a lot of experience with, because a lot of the students that come to me are either they've had classical backgrounds, like my students at Furman University. They come from predominantly classical backgrounds. They're not mainly jazz pianists, but they're interested in learning about it. And then younger students that are, trying to get into the Fine Arts Center or want to play in a jazz band in high school, or maybe they want to try out for All-State. They want to learn more about jazz, and they have a more classical background. Well, this is a great topic because, as I said, I do a lot of this kind of teaching. But what was interesting was, first of all, they asked a lot of really great questions. These teachers did, and they anticipated a lot of the topics that I was going to talk about, which was great. And it was I was able to play for them. There's a very nice, beautiful 9-foot Steinway there. I was able to play for them, and then I was able to demonstrate various things that I was talking about with them, like different rhythmic styles, different grooves of different styles, like jazz and Latin music, bossa nova and samba and all these kind of things. I was able to demonstrate that on them on the piano, as well as showing them how I try to teach my students about like counting rhythms and tapping them out, and different ways they can improve their rhythmic understanding. And anyway, it was very interesting. But one of the things that happened that the reason I'm doing this particular episode right now, one of the teachers came to me afterwards and said that she had been trying to work on learning jazz herself, and she asked me if I'd heard of this particular person, and I said, yes, of course, he's very good. And she said, well, I have some of his books, and I'm trying to work through them myself. And I just went, well, you know what? You're never going to learn jazz from a book. And here's the reason. There's more than one reason. Here's the first reason is you're approaching something that you have really no experience with, and you're looking at a book written by a guy who's very knowledgeable and he knows what he's talking about, but that book that you're looking at is intended for students who are farther along than you are. If you're just approaching this as a beginner, most jazz books are they're sort of like how-to books, like how to do this, how to do that. And in my experience, they generally start at a too advanced level. Now, they're not too advanced if you're an advanced student, but the students that I'm talking about, and a lot of the students that I'm encountering, the students that I teach, like these young students that come to me that are in junior high school or middle school or high school or even college if they're classically trained, they don't have any experience whatsoever in jazz. Or maybe they know a little bit from watching YouTube videos, or sometimes they have a teacher that showed them a few things about chords, but they don't have a real understanding, an overall understanding about what it is and how to approach learning it or teaching it. And generally, they're not, the teachers that they've had don't really have any experience with jazz either, or very little. So you're not going to get the information that you need from one of these books. That doesn't mean they're not good and might benefit you later on, but to begin, at the beginning, you're not going to learn what you need to learn at the beginning from these books. I think personally what you need is a teacher, like someone like myself, that is an actual jazz musician, that actually plays this music and understands it, and who understands how to explain it. Not everybody that's a good performer is a good teacher. That's the other issue you have to think about. but you need someone who understands how to explain to you how to enter this world and then give you hands-on, practical, step-by-step instructions in how to begin to apply this knowledge to, for one thing, to what you already have, your own skills that you already have as a performer or as a teacher or as a teacher, but also to apply these new ways of understanding things that you know about music to a different world of music, because jazz is a different world of music than, say, classical music. It's just you have to have a different approach, and you have to understand how it works kind of from a fundamental level. And that's what I try to give my students. And I've talked about this in other episodes here, but you have to understand how rhythm works. You understand how melody works. You have to understand how harmony works. And you have to understand it from the basic beginnings of it, the fundamental understanding of how it works. So anyway, that's why the topic, you can't learn jazz from a book. Well, you can learn some things from books. You can learn a lot of things from books, but to have an introduction, you need to start at the beginning, and that's where I think you really need someone to find out where you are, meet you where you are, and give you the information that you need, help you fill in those fundamental fundamental information, help you start from the beginning place, so that you can build up your knowledge from a real strong foundation. All right, see you next time. Thanks. Thanks for checking out Notes on Jazz. If you want to communicate with me, I offer free consultations. Just check the podcast notes for a link. You can also find a link to my website for CDs, downloads, and videos. See you next time at Notes on Jazz.